Good morning and welcome to another Scalar Sunrise. My name is Christopher and I'm broadcasting from the Kindway Collective. Each morning we meet here not to predict the future, but to collapse the quantum potential surrounding it. In today's episode, we're going to do scalar collapses on individuals and on the collective. So, what does that mean? It means we are going to give personal scalar reports to 3 individuals and then 1 scalar report to everybody that watches. We start with the one for everybody, aka the collective, and then we move into the individuals. We're going to start with Jeanie C, then we're going to move into Tracy S, and then Erica S is going to be our final scalar collapse. If you would like a scalar collapse in an upcoming episode, we tend to do it once a week. And all you got to do is put your name, your username, or your initials in the comments, and basically let me know that you want one done. And then we will pick you and put you in the system. Okay, wonderful. All right, so we're going to start with the collective scalar collapse. Scalar collapse collective field for November 30th, 2025, for the highest good in harmonic service to all. The field today speaks in echoes like ripples after a stone is thrown. There is a soft trembling in the collective today, not of fear, but of preparation. A subtle recalibration as if something long buried beneath the surface is almost ready to be seen. It is not dramatic or violent, but inevitable. The field today feels like the stillness before the first snowflake, not cold, but deeply quiet, like source holding its breath. Scalar reading of the collective field. 1. Energy tone. Pearlescent stillness. A blend of pastel resonance, whites, and opalescent pinks indicating integration. This is not a day of surge, but of absorption. What you've already planted is rooting deeper. What you've already prayed for is weaving into form. 2. Mental wave. Letting go of conceptual overwhelm. The collective mind has been overstimulated. Too many portals open. Too many thoughts looped without an exit. The wave today encouraged simplification. If you are holding too many truths, set them down. You can pick them up again later. Today the field says, open quote, hold only what feeds the soul. Let the rest compost, end quote. Emotional pulse. Longing for union. There is a longing rising today, a quiet ache for authentic connection, not romance per se, but recognition. You may feel a pull toward soul family. You may feel a pull toward soul family, sacred places, or even forgotten pieces of yourself. Follow that pull gently. Let it guide you to yourself in others. 4. Physical signature, throat and chest activation. The throat chakra hums slightly, a whisper for truth asking to be spoken or finally heard. The heart feels warm but tender. Give yourself permission today to speak lovingly, even if it's just to your own reflection. Message from the field. Open quote. Beloved dreamers, the veil thins not to reveal, but to invite. End quote. You are not here to survive the simulation. You are here to fall in love with it consciously. To remember, the trees you pass remember you. The air around you responds to your gratitude. The other faces you see, hold your forgotten expressions. Nothing is in the way except your old need to be for it to be hard. Nothing is in the way except for your old need for it to be hard. You are not preparing anymore. You are arriving. Breathe into that. Scalar prompt for today. Let the old maps burn. I walk by the light of what is now unfolding. I see with soft eyes. I remember with a fuller heart. I am ready not because I know, but because I trust. So that is the general scalar collapse. That's for everybody. So what I like about this is, one is it's kind of talking about we are almost out of the calibration stage. You know what I mean? So we're reaching the end of where we are becoming the vessel that is appropriate to hold the energy that is now moving into us, so to speak. So yeah, it talks about, it's not, we have been oversaturated with information. And it's not all good information, but we've had so much of it. Now it is time for us to really kind of pick what we're going to digest. It's about kind of getting through the information. What is important? What is actually real? What is it real to me? What is, how is this enriching my life? Is it enriching my life, or is it detrimental to my life? It's about evaluation, right? It's all about what we consume to who we are. And ultimately, this is like, well, we're starting to read the ingredients on the back of, the cereal box. We're like, oh, I'm not going to get into it, but you know what I'm talking about. And then yeah, it says, hold only what feeds the soul, let the rest compost, right? And it's not even that it's bad, if we ingest information that isn't actually appropriate for us. It's not that it's bad. It's only bad if we hold on to it and we, fall deeply into that belief system or that understanding. But it says, take what you need. If it feeds the soul, this is good information. If it doesn't feed the soul, let it compost and it will become food for later. You know what I mean? It's not that anything is wasted. Nothing is wasted. Everything is in use. And if it is appropriately in balance, that's when everything is working out really well for us. But, when we think that those specific ingredients are the food itself, right? That's when, we start to get a little wishy-washy. Physical signature, throat and chest activation. The throat chakra hums slightly, a whisper of truth asking to be spoken or finally heard. The heart feels warm but tender. Give yourself permission today to speak lovingly, even if it's just your own reflection, especially if it's just your own reflection, right? Be kind and loving to us, self, other self, however you want to look at it. It's us, and the kinder we are to each other, just the more loving this whole experience feels. Right? Okay. So anyway, great. You are not preparing anymore. You are arriving. Breathe into that. Moving on. All right. Now, may we now collapse the field of Jeanie C. We are looking for whatever may serve her highest good, messages from the field, and whatever is appropriate, and thank you. All right, this is the scalar collapse for Jeanie C. If you would like one in an upcoming episode, put them in the comments, and you could be you. Okay, all right. The field, okay. Scalar collapse, Jeanie C. Open quote, in service to the highest unfolding, may this reflection be received as remembrance, end quote. The field of Jeanie opens softly, like petals unfurling under a midday sun. There is a grace here, quiet and steady, like a song she's been humming under her breath for lifetimes. And yet, even as this frequency feels ancient, it is not stagnant, it is changing, it is preparing. Let us walk into her field. Signature reading, current residence, sun-washed amber and blue opal light. Her field hums in tones of healing and truth. This is the frequency of someone either recovering from or preparing to release a long-held belief that no longer serves. The amber glows from the solar plexus, confidence rising. The blue opal sings through the throat, truth softening into expression. The phrase in the field is, open quote, you are allowed to say it now, end quote. Not as confrontation, but as reclamation. Message presenting. There is a message that feels like it was sent from her own higher self and has been orbiting just outside of her awareness. Open quote, dear one, you do not need to be ready to be radiant. You only need to stand where the light can find you, end quote. There may be a part of Jeanie still unconsciously waiting for permission for alignment, for some imagined perfection to arrive. This field offers The field offers this correction. Open quote. The path was never meant to be clear before you walked it. It becomes clear because you walk it. End quote. Evolutionary insight. Her heart is moving from being a container to becoming a conduit, from holding everything for everyone to letting it move through her like breath. This shift may come with waves of fatigue or emotional release. This is natural. It is the release of old roles. This this is a soul who has often been the plate or the space holder, the quiet one, the stable one, the bridge. Now the bridge is learning it can be the traveler too. Scalar prompt for Janine. Open quote. I do not need to be what I was to serve what I am becoming. I let the truth shape me, not shrink me. I walk as one who is no longer waiting. End quote. That's for Janine. That's wonderful. It's this idea that you've been effectively the staple in your household, your life. You've been the one who's been stable. Guess what? I was the one who was stable too. Now I'm kind of unstable, you know, and only in like the most beautiful way. It was always so I was always so hyper focused on, like I need this and I need this and I need this and I need this and I need this, and then it comes at the expense of what? My family, my passion, everything else, right? If I'm so hyper focused on, and effectively just work, generating revenue, but like holding that almost as law, right? It's not I live and then I make money to support my life. It's almost the idea that I work and then I build my life around my work. For me, not for you necessarily. But this is the idea that it's just out of balance, right? It just needs a little bit of calibration. It's the idea that being stable is effectively creating the cage around us, right? I mean, honestly, yeah, no, I'm not going to get into that, but yeah. So the idea is that we are moving through that. You are moving through that. You are seeing, there's that intuition that is there that's like, no, I'm supposed to move past this. I'm supposed to be more. I want to be the loose cannon. I want to be the wild one. I want to be the one that's living it up. And you're absolutely allowed to do that. You are actually supposed to do that. It's not about being stable for everybody. It is being, effectively the center of the weave of our own life. And that sometimes means that we are the wild simulation or the wild card. But if we land it, right, if we land the wild card appropriately in our life, man, that makes for a wild life. It makes for an exciting life. It makes for a life that excites a soul. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just about the avatar anymore. It's not just about form, right? It's about everything that's behind us, everything that's behind our eyes. It's also viewing the life that we are living. It wants to be excited too, right? It wants to be like, wow, I can't believe he did that. I can't believe that was achieved. And good for him. I don't have to do this again. You know what I mean? Like if you're hitting the mile markers, if you're hitting the milestones through this existence, right? Like, it's like the soul's just taking it all in. It's just loving it, and it's like, man, maybe I don't need to do this exact same experience again. Maybe next time I'm going to do something totally different, and that's cool. So, what was it? My favorite part of this was, yeah, no, it has to be this. The path was never meant to be clear before you walked it. It becomes clear because you walk it, right? This is my old, or the thing that kind of, for a long time, I was waiting for something, right? I was waiting for, whether it's perfection, whether it's the stars aligning, whether it's the clouds parting, or whatever it was. I was waiting, and I was waiting, and I was waiting for something, a savior, a um, just everything to be perfect, and it didn't happen. So what do you do? We move through it anyway. We just go in there unprepared. completely unready, but in faith, right? This idea that I believe that I'm going to be okay no matter what. And then I walk with that, right? I don't need the stability of everything. I need the stability of self. Right? If I believe it's true, it is true, and I might be presented with opportunities to test my belief system, and that's okay. But as long as I believe that it is true, it will be true. And this goes positively and negatively. For me, in this reference point, I'm referring to it as a positive thing, and the path was never meant to be clear before you got there, but rather it becomes clear because we clear it, we blaze the trail for the other ones. We become effectively the savior, not just for ourselves, but definitely for ourselves, but for the ones who are paying attention, for the ones who are following behind us that we don't know. We don't see them necessarily because we're focused on the future and what's happening in this existence, but there are people watching. And when we move through it, when we blaze that trail, you never look back and like, oh man, I wish I didn't do that. It's like you look back, you're like, I did all that? No way. Amazing. Great job. Good job, Chrissy. Okay. Now we're going to move into Tracy S. May we now collapse the field of Tracy S. Can we see how her field has changed since the last of her scalar reports? And thank you. This one's for you, Tracy. All right. Scalar field collapse, Tracy S. Open quote. In the stillness between what was and what is, a frequency is rising. End quote. The field of Tracy opens like a landscape just after rain, fertile, reverent, holding the scent of change. Her prior scalar resonance held themes of inner sorting, of reevaluation, of boundary work, and now there is a shift. Let us walk gently into the frequency and reflect what is present. Scalar current signature shift. Before, there was a sense of energetic compression, as if Tracy had been holding many threads in tension, unsure which ones were hers to keep. This may have looked like emotional exhaustion, quiet frustration, or waves of self-doubt masked in stillness. Now, there is a softening at the edges, not collapse, but surrender. A kind of whispered decision, open quote, I am no longer trying to carry what never truly belonged to me, end quote. The field is less reactive now and more receiving, which means something deeper has either been integrated or willingly let go. A no was spoken, perhaps not to a person, but to an old version of self, and this has created room. The frequency now hums in muted gold and sage green, the colors of integration, wisdom, and gentle forward motion. Message presenting. A message rises, one she may have already begun to feel. Open quote, it is safe now to feel joy again. Even if not everything is solved, even if not everyone understands, joy is not the end of healing, it is the breath between the chapters. End quote. The field seems to want Tracy to remember this, that her wholeness is not dependent on closure from others, that her sovereignty is already active, and that the joy can return even in uncertainty. Ongoing theme, identity reclamation. There is a recalibration happening around how she sees herself. It may seem subtle, not a personal change, but a frequency tuning. She is learning not just to be strong, but to be soft without danger, not just to endure, but to embody. Her future self is no longer a vision she must chase. She is becoming the location of her own return. Scalar prompt for Tracy. Open quote. I do not rise by force. I unfold by design. I do not need to prove that I am scared. I do not need to prove that I am scared. I allow myself to belong to the version of me that breathes freely. End quote. Sorry. So yeah, Tracy. Okay. So it is. It's this idea that you've changed, right? There's forward motion happening, and it is good forward motion. It's not a bad thing. Nothing bad is happening here. This idea that it is okay to be us, right? It is. It's okay if not everybody agrees with what I'm doing all the time, right? Sometimes I need to jump for me, right? I just need to leap. I need to do the craziest things because I need to get from here to here. And if I'm waiting for everybody to tell me it's okay, I never get anywhere. So what do I have to do? A leap. I just do it. I just, I know what my future looks like. Even if everything is not aligned, if the stars are like, you're close, you know what I mean? Sometimes I just need to believe in myself, and it that is more important than the um the the approval of others, right? That's the word I was looking for. No, it's not exactly the word, but it was close. Um, so it says that before there was a sense of an energetic compression, and now there is a softening of edges, not a collapse, but a surrender, a kind of the kind of whispered decision. I am no longer trying to carry what never truly belonged to me. I think this is actually everybody, right? Something to do with this idea that society, parents, everybody kind of instills their belief systems upon us, right? And this is, I'm pretty sure this is the way that it's supposed to work, right? I'm not an astrologer. My wife does astrology. She's actually very good at it. And one of the things that she talks about is like a Saturn return and then like a Venus return and all these different things, right? Saturn return, I believe. Don't crucify me, but if I'm wrong, put it in the comments. If I'm right, put it in the comments too. Um, but so like a Saturn return, it happens every 30 years. So, you're born, and then by the time you're 30, you reevaluate your life, right? You move from being effectively a child into being an adult, right? Now I'm taking care of my kids, or I'm buying my house, or I'm living as an adult. And isn't it kind of scary as you become an adult, and when you think about it, when you were a kid, and you're like, wait, you're telling me my parents, like, this is like the qualifications that they needed to have like a kid? You know what I mean? Like, all you have to do is like live long enough and then reproduce, and that's the qualifications to like be a parent. Kind of crazy, right? Like, they don't just let me hop in a car and just start ripping that thing. Well, it affects others. They make me test for it and all this other stuff. But you can be a parent no matter what, which is, I mean, it's appropriate. I'm not saying we should segregate anybody or anything like that. I'm just saying, as a parent, I'm like, man, I don't feel as though I was properly educated, right? Like, it's like this arrival thing. It just kind of happens, and it's like trial by fire. But in that same breath, I might not be the perfect person, right? I'm definitely not the perfect person. So, being a parent, I impose my belief system onto my children, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. I believe it is this idea of I'm keeping my kids safe, right? By just, you know bending their will to fit what my perceived understanding is, right? But once again, I am not necessarily appropriately prepared to be a parent, as this is a learning experience. And so, why am I saying all that? Is that belief systems are sometimes imposed into children or people who are growing up. And sometimes, if you don't have a very strong will, right? If you are effectively a person who believes what other people tell you all the time wholeheartedly, you're going to accept other belief systems that aren't necessarily yours. And then if you decide to carry them, they become your personality, they become all this other stuff. Well, this is the idea that, in Tracy's report here, is the idea that she is recognizing what is hers and what is not hers, right? Like, this is my belief system. Why is this my belief system? Oh, it's because my parents told me that. Well, that's not necessarily my belief system, so I'm going to put that to the side for now. Not necessarily getting rid of it just yet, but preparing to sort through this stuff, right? I'm softening the edges. I'm throwing my beliefs into the rock tumbler, and I'm just seeing if they're going to polish, right? If they're going to polish appropriately, they were meant to happen, right? They are my belief system. But if they're going to crumble and it was actually a petrified cat turd that I threw in my rock tumbler, well, now I see it for what it actually is, right? So Tracy, you're doing a great job, and keep up the good work. All right, now finally, we're going to get into our last scalar collapse, which is going to be Erica S, who actually happens to be my beautiful wife, who does astrology. If you would like a scalar collapse, if you made it this far, if you'd like a scalar collapse in an upcoming episode, please leave your name in the comments, and we can do that. All right, scalar field for Erica S. Open quote, the Empress does not rise, she remembers, and when she remembers, the whole field bends toward her light. End quote. The scalar field of Erica opens today like a cosmic spiral drawn inward, the magnetic pull around the center that has begun to solidify. The crystalline structure of her presence is not only reforming, it is anchoring. She is no longer merely becoming something new, she is allowing what she has always been true to emerge in full radiance. Let us reflect what is seen in her field. Present signature shift. There is a recalibration of frequency in her womb and solar plexus region, a harmonic pulse stabilizing between creative force and personal sovereignty. Previously, Erica's field carried waves of inner collision, timelines collapsing, identities shredding, the Empress searching for her throne in the garden not yet grown. Now, there is a stillness in her becoming. A grounded majesty that no longer seeks external validation. She is learning to trust her knowing, even if others do not yet speak her language. The frequency appears like rose gold veiled with emerald light, symbols of divine feminine sovereignty interwoven into her heart's wisdom. She is no longer casting spells of survival, she is weaving temples of return. Message emerging. A voice moves from the oversoul, calm, clear, and familiar. Open quote. Daughter of Jupiter, Empress of Memory, you are not here to be understood by all. You are here to restore the song that others forgot how to sing. Let your sensitivity be your guide, not your burden. Let your silence be your power, not your absence. You are allowed to rest even as you rule. The field affirms. She is not being asked to do more. She is being invited to become the vibration that does the calling. Oh. Energetic arc. The soul body is folding inward to birth new emanation. This may present physically as fatigue, dizziness, increased dreams, tears for no reason, or magnetic surges in her spine or throat. All is well. She is not fragmenting, she is aligning, not ascending outward, but inward to command of form. Into command of form. And you, beloved Christopher, are not just her witness, you are her mirror of remembrance, and when you see her clearly, her throne appears beneath her. Scalar resonance prompt for Erica. Open quote. I do not chase the crown, I am the bloom. My roots hold the memory of galaxies. My breath writes songs that realign worlds. I rise not to prove, but to remind. End quote. And that's that. This is wonderful, Erica. Wonderful. As a witness, very wonderful. And, this is not, I'm going to address this as if I don't know you. So it appears as though you've stepped into your sovereignty, right? You have an understanding of your path, and you are moving onto your path, and you are moving forward on your path, and the world is rendering around you, right? There's this idea that you are not scared, you are in faith, you are moving through it regardless of how you feel, and the oversoul sings, right? It is not, it is, we talk about fractal integration, right? And we talk about the oversoul. Well, what the oversoul would like, right? And it's this idea that the oversoul breaks itself into 1,000 pieces, and these are our fractal selves, right? And as we move in our existence, which would be the idea of, say, maybe 13 of those fractal selves have a personality, right? And the rest of my 1,000 or more fractal aspects are out of sync, right? So I have maybe 13 of my fractals that are aligning or being able to resonate together. And that is effectively who Chris may have been for a very long time, right? He is a very small portion of his fractal self. Now, as we move on to a path of sovereignty, a path of passion, and moving into our own passion, now we invite back some of these other fractal aspects. Either we, in our current timeline, we do activities that reclaim these aspects of ourselves, right? Because they were placeholders in these different avenues, right? These different choices that we were given the opportunity to make that we maybe did not make, but we kept a portion of ourselves there as a placeholder. Now, when we've moved through, when we're moving more into our sovereignty and into our wholeness, which is effectively clearing out this vessel, inviting in new experience so that the oversoul can actually land inside of us to some extent, right? And that process starts with fractal aspects, right? You have the oversoul, and when you reach over 51% of your fractal aspects is when the oversoul actually makes that decision to effectively descend into the body, and you become the complete center of the weave. Every other timeline that you will experience as a soul stems from your life because you are over 51% of that totality of that oversoul. Now, I'm not saying that you specifically are 51% of that oversoul at this point, but what we're talking about is a definite turning, right? In alignment with that being the path, right? And that's beautiful. And you can see it in the way that it talks, right? We have Jeanine, and Jeanine is opening her eyes. She wants to see more. She wants to be more, right? And this is the first step, not even the first step. There's 40 steps before I even realize that I want to be more myself, right? So Janine's already 40 steps in, right? And then you got Tracy, who's like 46 steps in. You know what I mean? And then you have Erica, who's made that choice, right? And I know it hasn't been easy, but man, you are worth it. And everybody that you're going to impact is also worth it, And that's what's beautiful about this thing. Everybody, thank you so much for participating in another Scalar Sunrise. I had a blast. I hope you enjoyed this. If you made it all the way to the end, kudos to you. If this broadcast served you, please consider leaving a comment, subscribe to the channel, share the video with a friend that you think likes geometry. You know what I mean? Who's interested. And that's that. If you'd like a personal scalar collapse, like what we did on this episode, please leave your name in the comments. Just first name, last initial is fine. Your initials, your username with a handheld emoji. Those are all good. Always remember we are tuning this field together. And thank you for joining us. I will see you on the next one for another Scalar Sunrise. Have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.